Hello and welcome to the story of Oscar and Louise. It's Carrots here. This is episode 4 where we're going to meet Louise's parents, Bluey and Lorna. At this point, Bluey and Lorna haven't met each other. Bluey is a fisherman. His traits are angler, brooding, charismatic, childish, coward. And of course, he's fishing in a spot where he shouldn't be fishing. The sign clearly says no fishing. They live in Riverview. Bluey grew up in Riverview. He's been here all his life. He's a lonely chap. He lives on his own. Knows lots of the locals because he grew up here, but there's no special one in his life. And of course his fishing skill isn't very high, so he's not catching anything here. It's about time he moved on. Now this is Lorna. Lorna grew up somewhere else, and she's just moved to Riverview. She's childish, coward, evil, mean-spirited and schmoozer. She shares a couple of traits with Bluey. Childish, coward. Bluey won't know what's hit him when he meets Miss Lorna. Lorna wants a husband. She's decided that she needs a husband that she can easily manipulate and control. Someone who will give her a home, a base for her to live, someone to support her, and perhaps even give her a child, because she'd really like a daughter. Bluey'd like to have a son, so he could take somebody fishing with him. But Louise just wants a little girl, and once she's had a little daughter, I suspect Bluey will have to just cope with no sons, unless they happen to have a boy first. So Lorna's off taking a run on her first day in town, getting the idea of what's around town and perhaps even meeting a few locals. It's a lovely sunny day today in Riverview. Later in the afternoon, they're both aware of the Blue Building, and they both individually decide to go there to let off a bit of steam. Lorna's hoping to meet a few of the locals. Bluey just hangs out there occasionally on his own, or with friends, depending on who hangs out there with him at the time. Lorna went to the bar to order a shrimp cocktail because she was a bit peckish by now. And at about that time, Bluey decided, well, he should eat too, and he ordered his regular hamburger. He's never quite seen anything in Riverview who looks quite like Lorna. Lorna's used to being in the bigger city and in the smaller country town. She's quite comfortable in either location because she's lived in several worlds, having felt the need to move around quite regularly. And she's noticed Bluey, and Bluey's noticed her too. After all, how could they miss? There's nobody else there at the moment in this little bar to enjoy themselves. There's only the bartender and a few paparazzi. Lorna enjoyed her shrimp cocktail, and when she'd finished, being a sim, she headed out to the toilet block to wash a dirty plate. She had a good look at Bluey before she left. I wonder what she's got planned for poor Bluey. She had a little think and she decided, there's music playing and there's a dance floor. Maybe she should just do a little dancing by herself for a while. She's sure to meet somebody that way if she's there dancing on the dance floor all alone. Somebody should come in eventually. Maybe it'll even be Bluey. He looked quite interesting. Of course, he's the sim too, so he's gone out to wash his plate in the toilets as well. And he's come back. And he's decided, maybe I'll dance too. So there they are, each dancing individually carefully ignoring each other on the dance floor. Very difficult to ignore each other for too long, though, considering there's only two of them on the dance floor. If either of them are even slightly interested in the other, surely one of them will find a way to actually speak to the other. Hello, Louise's turned to face him, and he's turned to face her. Here they go. Let's dance together. This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I think in the end they both will be quite content in their own ways. So they just kept dancing and gradually getting to feel more comfortable with each other. And it was good because there was nobody else there. It was just the two of them. It gave Lorna an excellent opportunity to get Bluey's full attention. And Bluey thought it was great because if any other blokes came in, she'd undoubtedly make a beeline for them and he'd be left alone as usual. So he was quite keen for them to get talking and getting to know each other a bit better. So far, Louise liked what she saw of Bluey. She wanted somebody she could manipulate, and she thought he looked quite hopeful. And of course Bluey thought she was just stunning and couldn't believe that she wanted to spend time with him. He just got to be so lucky that night, he thought. So then they moved on to a bit of slow dancing. The paparazzi had arrived by now, of course. Started taking photos of them. They weren't really happy with that thought. Bluey suddenly found himself offering to show Lorna a few of the sights of Riverview. Afterwards he couldn't believe that he'd actually said anything so bold. But they set off together. He asked her if she'd like to see one of his favourite, most romantic spots in all of Riverview. Louise couldn't believe her luck, although she was a little bit nervous being a coward. It was dark out there. She was afraid of the dark, and so was Bluey, of course. But they both swallowed their fears and set out together on a drive in a taxi through the dark streets of Riverview. Lorna was getting her first view of Riverview by night, and she was in the company of an attractive man. She couldn't believe her luck. She was hoping things might improve. She wasn't too sure how fast she could push things, because she wanted to get him safely in her clutches as soon as possible. She had no magic powers, she just had her own winning personality. So their taxi ride soon ended, and off they went along the paths, along the river, in the night time, in the dark. Both of them being cowards and being afraid of the dark. I'm surprised either of them actually did this. Lorna ended up leading the way. She soon learned it was just along this path a bit. And then Bluey told her to just go right over that little bridge. We'll come to an island in the middle of the river, which is quite isolated and romantic. Perhaps we could even watch the stars together. Here we go, into the middle of the stone circle, where they were all alone. They didn't even have the bartender to keep an eye on them. There were none of those pesky paparazzi anywhere in sight. Now something got into Bluey, and he took a huge risk by giving her his first attempt at a kiss. Didn't go well. Took her by surprise. If she'd been had some warning and thinking about it, she would have reacted differently because she didn't want to discourage him. So she let him apologise, and she was hoping that she'd be more ready for him next time he tried, if there was a next time. So she accepted his flowers. Eventually, he gained a little bit more confidence. Now that mightn't have been a good move. Louis telling her he didn't like commitment. So things aren't going quite as well as she'd hoped. No, not as well as he'd hoped either. But this pair were quite committed to getting to know each other and to liking each other. They really wanted to like each other because they both were in a hurry to find somebody special. Suddenly their quiet spot was very crowded, and they decided to make their escape and headed off home. She went to her home and he went to his. They wondered if they'd ever see each other again. Next morning, after the night out with Bluey, she decided she really should get a job. And this is Supernatural Park. And since she wants to be a celebrity psychic, Lorna soon tracked down the Gypsy Caravan, where she went to apply for a job. Available jobs: fortune teller, horoscope reader, 20 simoleons per hour. Work hours are 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. Some people have a special gift to see beyond our simple existence and interpret the movements of the universe itself, divine patterns that guide all of our fates. This gift can be shared with people for money. But will you focus on the simoleons or on the strength of your astral spiritual connection? I think Lorna will focus on both because she wants to be a celebrity psychic, so she has to do well. When she comes out of the caravan, she decides to go look for fairies in the Arboretum. Now there's a little adventure associated with the Arboretum, and I will read out to you the 3 little parts of it. She might as well take advantage of being at the Supernatural Park. The hunt begins. Lorna Larson spies a tiny trace of fairy dust near the South Gardens. Unfortunately, these gardens are filled with large, carnivorous plants, and Lorna's a coward. They don't look too hungry for the moment. It seems Lorna Larson can either follow the trail into the gardens, contending with the toothy plants, or skip this area entirely and try her luck somewhere safer. What should she do? Into the gardens she goes. It's been a rough start, but Lorna Larson knows she's getting closer. Following the sound of dripping water, she quickly comes upon a small stone well. A rope stretches from the well's crank down into the blackness below. No telling how deep the well goes, or what's on the other end of the rope. The crank appears to be in good working order, but there's also a sturdy-looking ladder leading down into the well. What should Lorna Larson do? Pull up the rope. That last lead didn't pan out too well, but now Lorna Larson is closer than ever. This is her last chance. It all comes down to this. Lorna Larson has followed the path into a small clearing. At the far end of the clearing there are 2 separate paths formed from the local flora. One is composed of a terrifying snarl of thorns, dead flowers, and crawling vines. Above it is neatly hand-lettered sign reading, "Fairies inside." The other passageway is elegantly lined with ivy and adorned with gorgeous flowers on every colour of the rainbow. This one is labelled "Certain Doom." Fairies have a weird sense of humour. This is it. Where will Lorna Larson go? Fairies inside. And when she's finished with her fairies inside, she can go across to the Green Door Bakery, which she spied across the street. After her morning's activities, she's getting a little peckish. She'll surely find something to eat across there at the bakery. She was wondering if she'd ever bump into that Bluey again. The previous night had ended rather abruptly when, although they started to get on quite well together, half of the town seemed to turn up at the favourite spot that Bluey had taken her to. And when the paparazzi started taking their photos and townies were standing in between them trying to have conversations with them and split them up, they decided to make a quick exit. And they parted without exchanging too much personal information, such as how to get in touch with each other again. Now this is the inside of the bottom level of the bakery. This bakery's got 3 levels. There's a chef here who can cook meals for them. There's menus on some of the tables, or they can just buy something, one of the baked goods. This is the second level of the bakery. It's actually got toilets there at the back of the bakery on the second level. And up the top is just a small level with more tables with menus and some bakery shelves. The tables without menus are good for the Sims to sit at if they just want to eat something that they bought off one of the shelves at the bakery, or if they want to order something from the menu, they can sit down at a table with a menu. Hello, looks like Bluey's turned up. This is the other part of the bakery. It's the small outdoor cafe side of the bakery. There's a bar there as well. So Bluey's bought himself something to eat, and he's noticed this blonde from last night's appeared. He didn't expect to see her again. Maybe there's hope after all. Lorna decided to eat her purchase from the bakery as well. That's Mag Newby. He turned up. Bluey knows her, but Lorna hasn't met her yet. Bluey's finished eating his meal and he's about to leave. He's not quite sure if we should approach Lorna or not, but she's invited him to join her at her table, where they engage in some conversation, continue getting to know each other. They soon find there's plenty of topics that they have in common and can chat happily together, while Meg Newby in the background oohs and ahs over the available products from the bakery. It's a process for them to get to know each other. Both Lorna and Bluey are still very interested in the other. Bluey's starting to think maybe we should go somewhere and spend the afternoon together. He had been planning to go fishing. So they moved to the bar. They thought they'd get a drink, but the barman was a bit slow coming over. So they decided they wouldn't hang around, they'd go for a swim instead. The local pool was a great place to go on a first date because there was hardly anybody there. Just one little girl. Bluey and Lorna enjoyed some breath-holding competitions and a bit of splashing. And then Lorna had a breath-holding competition with the other little swimmer. And then others started turning up. Lorna didn't seem to be very good at holding her breath. She wasn't down there for very long. The pool started to get rather crowded. It was a bit like the night before when they were at the stone circle. They started out being all alone, and then they had quite a lot of Sims there with them, and here we are at the pool. I wonder how many Sims you can fit into a small pool. We might be about to find out, I think. Before Bluey and Lorna decide that, well, they don't really need to be in the pool after all. There's plenty of other places to go. And since they can't get anywhere near each other, and they just wanted to get to know each other better, and this really wasn't working anymore. It had been a good idea to start with. It seems wherever they go to be alone together to get to know each other, half the town turns up within minutes of their arrival. So they're going to try a new place now, somewhere that they haven't been before. Bluey knows all of the spots around Riverview. Lorna's just learning from him. So I suppose even if it doesn't work out between them, she is gaining a lot from being with him because he's showing her around town. This time, Lorna's getting to see Riverview in the daylight. She's not too sure where they're actually going to go, though. But she's getting accustomed to being with Bluey, and she's pretty sure that he'll find somewhere fun for them to be. Now, this looks like fun. Now, the Ferris wheel that they're riding on at the moment is custom content, and it was made by Douglas Vega. We were begging the Sims 3 store to provide us with a Ferris wheel while it was still open, but they didn't give us one. We got a carousel, it was very nice, but a Ferris wheel would have been really fun, especially a working Ferris wheel. And this is a working Ferris wheel. We've only got 2 Sims on it. I was wondering if I sent a household with more Sims in it, if I could have had more of them on the wheel at the same time. But you can see by the little small palm bob above their heads it's circling, that shows that they're in a group. So that wherever one goes, the other will follow, and at this point I think that Bluey is the group leader. Now they've come inside the park, and they're going to try out the roller coaster. There's 2 roller coasters in this park. The green roller coaster is the big one, and the pink roller coaster is a lot shorter ride. Now this is a roller coaster park that I made. It's in my studio if you're interested in downloading it. It requires a 50 by 50 lot. Most of my roller coasters fit on a 64 by 64 lot, and I really wanted one of them to put on this in Riverview for this video, but unfortunately 60 by 60 was the biggest lot I could find in Riverview that was already placed by EA when they made it. So there it is, and of course they're both cowards, so you know what they're going to do when they get off the roller coaster. Well, you're not actually going to see very close up of them in action, but you can see them bobbing up and down there. So we'll have to put them on the pink roller coaster now, so you can see what happens when they get off. Brooding. Yes, he's got a brooding trait. So he's not going to go anywhere fast. He has to sit down and have a think about the world every so often. I usually don't play Sims that have got a brooding trait, because they tend to annoy me a bit. But I thought it'd be suitable for Bluey to have that trait, because he's going to need it to get along with Lorna as they get to know each other a bit better. It's quite a quick ride on these roller coasters in this park. Some of my other parks have roller coasters that take a whole Sim hour to get around. But that's a nice quick little ride. And as they get off, what do they both do? They're both cowards, remember. That's their thing. Haven't seen other Sims do that before, but they both do it every time. So I'm assuming it's the coward trait that does it, but it could be something else. So Lorna's going to go for a swim. They seem to be having quite a lot of fun at the fun park. Now this is a place that you'd expect to have crowds of people, but there isn't. There's just the two of them enjoying the park. And so it looks like that Bluey's going for a swim too. Now this park has got a special thing about it that I think might be what's keeping the other Sims out. It's got barrier to entry system on the doors, and I've locked the doors, so nobody is coming in. I thought that was a bit tricky. There's quite a few people in here, Sims are in here, that operate various rides and things. I had a bit of a problem when I was trying to get them out because they couldn't get through the door. I had to remove the locks. That was when I found out I'd locked the doors, actually. It wasn't before they came here. That Ferris wheel ride very fortunately dumped them into the inside the park. So they didn't have to go through the door to get in here. The reason the Ferris wheel's outside is because I didn't actually include it in the park. There's a paparazzi turned up. And the lot that I've used is a 60 by 60 lot, and then my park takes only a 50 by 50. So I was trying to place the Ferris wheel somewhere. I found I could fit it outside. I couldn't fit it inside. But they found a few other Sims that they can share the ride with. I thought it'd be more fun to see extra Sims on the ride. I love how the pair of cowards are hanging on so tightly to their poles, and they have fear that they might fall off the merry-go-round. But otherwise I think they're having fun. They do sit up straight occasionally. It's very scary for them, I think. But this is the end of the video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.